I know. Hold on a second.
Is it Janet? Is she coming today?
It's Janet.
Yeah.
Maybe she decided with the pouring
Yeah,
down.
right, probably not. The other Janet.
You all back here want to spread out? I hear somebody's phone up here too, if anybody knows it. I hear a phone.
Just make sure.
Okay.
It's turned off.
But
It's coming today.
we'll be hearing thunder, but I'm sure if anybody's phone starts going crazy, like with a storm alert, please let me know if I miss it. So, but I really don't think you get a good rain and a lot of thunder. It's actually kind of fun to hear it thunder during yoga. I like it. So it is Monday, the 21st of June, summer. And we have a thunderstorm to start our summer here. So just sit comfortably. If you feel like you want to sit up on blankets, go ahead and grab blankets off the shelves if you want to sit up. If you need to stretch your legs out instead of sitting cross-legged on the floor, do. And if you're in your chair, get your feet hips distance apart and parallel. And then just close your eyes really easily. Let your eyes gently close and be mindful of feeling that length up through the top of your head so that you're not, rolling your shoulders forward and kind of slumping, right? You're lengthening up through the crown of your head with your sitting bones reaching down. And then just enjoy accepting your breaths in and out through your nose. Just letting your breath come into your belly so that your belly expands a little bit as you inhale. If you're comfortable to come to those 3-part breaths, inhaling into your belly and then your ribs and then all the way up into your chest. On your exhale, let your hands come gently together right in front of your chest and let your head come on forward. Release the back of the neck here and the upper back a little bit. And then just slide your hands over to the right and let your left ear just reach over towards your left shoulder so you come into releasing through the side of your neck a little bit. And then come on back down with your chin and your hands come back to center and go just the other way. So the right ear comes over towards the right shoulder and you release through the side of your neck. And then we'll come on back again with the head center and the hands. And then inhale your hands right on up through the midline. Keep them together. Only go as high as your shoulders let you. And when you exhale, let your hands come right back down to be in front of your chest. So we'll inhale the hands right on up through the midline. And on the exhale, let them come on back down. And then one more time, inhaling the hands right on up through the midline. And on the exhale, releasing the hands on back down. And now let's unfold our arms. Let our arms come on out beside us and float your hands up a little bit and circle through your hands. So you let your hands circle around, feel your wrists. Reverse the circles whenever you're so inclined, right? So you might decide you like to switch back and forth frequently. You might want to keep going in one direction for a while and then reverse. Good, and then release. Let your arms come on down, shake them out a little bit. And let's cross our left ankle above our right knee. If you're on the floor, you're going to have your right leg long. You can always cross lower. And if it's too much to cross, put the foot more to the inside of your leg if you'd rather, right? Because you don't want to do anything that makes your hip feel uncomfortable or your knee. And if you can come a little bit forward, do. Letting yourself come into opening up. If your leg is long on the floor, you're going to get into the back of your right leg, obviously. But also, you're going to get into this left hip. release and come on back up. And we're going to twist here. Take a nice inhale. And on the exhale, first twist to your left, bringing your right hand either to your left knee or to right here to your shin if you'd rather. You don't have to go any farther than feels good. Just wake up your spine. Good. One more inhale. And on the exhale, we'll come on back around through center. We're going all the way into the other direction. So you just swivel, keep swiveling around. And again, you only go as far as you want. Let your hands come to where it's comfortable. Feel your ribs here. Feel that nice rotation of the spine. One more inhale. And on the exhale, use your belly to bring you back on around into center. And we're going to uncross so we can switch legs. So again, don't do anything that feels uncomfortable in your hip or your knee. And as you flex through that foot, if you do want to come a little bit forward, think of coming forward from your low back. And of course, you're going to feel that right hip on the floor. You might feel pretty intense into the back of your left leg as well. So just enjoy your breath coming in and going out and letting that hip release. You might even think of bringing your breath to where you need it. So if you feel really tight, either in your back or your hip or the back of your leg, just imagine you're breathing into that place. So it's like you bring your inhale into that place where you feel a little tightness. And we're going to rise on back up from here. We're going to add that little twist. Take a nice inhale. And first we'll twist to our right, bringing our left hand around, maybe to your knee, maybe to your shin. And you know, this back arm, it depends on you. Fingertips can lightly touch the floor if you're on the ground, or you can, if you're in your chair, just loosely drape your arm over the back of your chair. One more inhale here. And on the exhale, we'll come on back around. Again, all the way into the other direction, real easily. And again, just release upward through the top of your head, finding that twist there in the middle of your back. And one more inhale. And on your exhale, slowly unwind. Again, back into center. And uncross your legs and stretch your legs both on out for a second. And then flex and point your feet just to wake up here through your feet and your ankles. And if you like, you can pedal your feet. Sometimes it feels good just to let one do one thing and the other. And then see if you can let your feet circle around. So you keep your legs still and you're really moving the feet and coming into your ankles. And we'll reverse and go the other direction. Good. And then just shake everything out. We're going to come around towards our hands and knees. So you know, if you don't want to be on your knees, let yourself grab a blanket if you're on the floor to put under your knees. And if you're up in the seat of your chair, just get your feet right underneath your hips. And remember, if your wrists bother you, pay attention. I mean, even if they do bother you, sometimes it's good to be a little bit flat on your hands. But then if they really start to bug you, come up onto your fists or come onto a blanket under your hands, or come down to your forearms if you need to. And then start to just ease your way through your cat-cow. So think about just how your spine is feeling as you come into this real, almost like a snake-like movement through your spine, right? And as you feel the tailbone initiate each time, you can move into your cat or cow, and you can go as deeply as you want into the pose, or not as deeply, right? You may decide, you know, that cat or cow pose don't feel really comfortable, so you can move between a neutral spine and one or the other of the poses, right? So that you don't pull up into your cat pose if it feels not good to you. But just find the movement that you can in your spine. Imagine it feeling really smooth too. Really smooth and easy. And then we'll finish off whatever one you're on or moving into. And then just come looking between your hands. Let yourself come to neutral spine. Let's make our way with our left foot forward and our right foot back to find our first lunge. So lunges might be better done higher for you, and you may want to use the seat or the chair. You may want to use blocks to a highest height, or you might want to go lower to a middle or lowest height on your block. So just be mindful, finding that alignment of your front knee. Make sure you're not bending that knee out beyond your ankle. You don't want to feel any discomfort in your knee. And just enjoy reaching into the inner right heel back there. So you find this length in the inside of your right leg. Good. And we're going to switch legs, however you want to do that. So you can always move to the other side, however is best for you, step forward or back, and then take your time. You know, get, again, that alignment of that front knee. Be the height with your hands that you're comfortable to be. And now think about where you have your head. So try not to lift your chin up and shorten the back of your neck, right? You're going to think of your back of your head being in line with your spine. Good. And we are going to switch back to the left foot forward. And I know a lot of you, when you get into your lunge, really like to bring your left hand or forearm up to that thigh above your knee there. That is up to you. If that doesn't feel good, don't do it. If you like to try lifting both hands up, you can. And we are going to switch one more time. So again, take your time as you get aligned there with that front knee. If it feels good to float your right hand or forearm up, you can. Good. And then we'll step forward from here. Let's come on into standing forward bend. Very important that you pay attention to your own back in this pose, right? So if you need support, use it. Stack blocks up on your chair if you want to be up higher, or use your forearms on your chair, or put your elbows above your knees bent. Your knees are bent, your elbows are giving you support, and that keeps the length in your low back. It also keeps the length through the upper back, even if you hang your head, right? Your spine is still long. So be mindful and take your time. If you like to have your hands on your blocks, or you like to release your hands down towards the floor, go for it. And then just accept full, deep, even breaths. Just really enjoy feeling the weight of your head. And letting your body coming forward like this just help the back of your legs to open up very naturally. Doesn't matter whether your knees are bent or not, you're still going to come into the backs of your legs. One more breath. And then let's bring our hands up to our hips, press into our feet as we rise on up to standing, and we'll inhale our arms all the way out and up. And on our exhale, let our hands come right down together in front of our hearts. So coming into mountain pose, adjust however you need to. If you need to look at your feet, do. If you need to walk a little bit to get evened out there and get your feet pretty parallel. And actually, let your gaze come forward, but let your arms hang, right? So everybody's arms are carried differently. You know, your palms might face towards your legs. Your palms might face backwards. Some people's palms face forwards when they let their arms hang. It has to do with how you're built. Your structure. So just let your arms hang and let yourself feel nice and open across your chest. And feel your tailbone dropping down. So you're not tucking your tailbone up under you, but you're also having a little engagement here in your belly, right? And then just bend your elbows and softly let your hands come to meet, but keep that openness across your chest and your upper back. Coming into mountain pose, feet equally grounded and thighs gently lifting upward. And just enjoy, let the body, it really wants to align, actually. Your hips want to come over your ankles, your shoulders over your hips. And as you, whether your eyes are opened or closed, as you bring your gaze just outward like you're looking at the horizon, then it's pretty easy to get the head aligned as well. And then we'll unfold our arms right on down beside us. And let's inhale both arms all the way out and up overhead. And on our exhale, bend our knees and come on forward into our standing forward bend. And on your next inhale, find a nice long flat back. It does not matter whether your hands come to your legs somewhere, to your blocks, or to your chair. And we'll step the right foot back to come into lunge. Again, find your lunge. Make sure you're not bending that front knee too far forward. Press the feet gently away from each other like you're trying to make your mat longer with your feet. And we'll make our way into a downward facing dog pose. Where your hands are in down dog, totally up to you. On the chair seat, you'll have your feet on the floor fully. You'll be, kind of like a capital letter L, although a little lower with your body. Same thing if your hands are on the blocks highest height, right? You may walk back a little bit further with the feet on the floor, but elbows are hugging in, right? And you can have your hands on the floor and be like an upside down V if you want. And we're going to come on out towards a plank. So make your way on out into that push-up pose. And if you need to put your knees down for a half plank too. If you need to come to your forearms to get out of your hands, you can do a forearm plank. You can bend your elbows, come into a little push-up or two if you choose. And then we'll make our way back into down dog. If you like to walk a little bit, go ahead and bend one knee at a time. So you come into the back of one leg and then the other, so you really enjoy opening up a little more in the backs of your legs. And then finish off into your full dog. And we will bring the right foot forward to come into lunge. And if you need to put your left knee down, or even both knees down to get that right foot forward, do. And then we'll step all the way back into standing forward bend, feet hips distance apart and parallel. And again, you be mindful of your own back, whatever support you need. I know some of you really like to just let your hands come to your elbows because it feels like a release. If that's, good for you, do. If you need support, do. Nice full deep breaths, all the way in, all the way out. And we will from here bring our hands back to our hips and bend our knees and rise up to standing and inhale our arms all the way out and up. And on our exhale, let our hands come down together in front of our hearts. Let's inhale our hands right up through the midline. But once you're there, bring your hands behind your head. Interlace your fingers so that you are just pressing the back of your head into your hands here. If it bothers your shoulders, don't do it. But think of your chin staying parallel to the floor. And when you push your head gently into your hands, feel how your belly and your low back fire up, really. You're coming into the core body a little bit there. So one more breath. Think lengthen the back of your throat. And then go ahead and let your arms unfold on down beside you. And let's inhale the arms directly forward of the shoulders, up overhead. You can widen them out if you need to. And on the exhale, bend your knees and come on forward into standing forward bend. And let your next inhale help you find that flat back, wherever you want your hands to go. And this time we'll step the left foot back to come into lunge. So again, you find your lunge. Make sure you, again, feel that alignment of that front knee and press the feet gently away from each other like you're trying to lengthen your mat with your feet. Good. We are going to come into down dog from here. So ease your way back into your down dog of choice where you like your hands up higher or down lower. If you want to walk your dog a little bit, go right ahead. Bend a knee at a time. Might even feel good to turn your head a little side to side. To me, it's very releasing, but if it bothers your neck, by all means, don't do it, right? And then come on back into your full dog, and on the next inhale, come out towards your plank again. Again, you can put your knees down, you can come to your forearms, you can go all the way to the floor and then come up onto your forearms if you'd rather, into an up dog or a little back bend if you choose to here. You don't have to. And then we'll come on back again into down dog. Good. And we're going to bring our left foot forward and come into lunge. And as you come there, press the feet away from each other again. Let yourself feel like you're lengthening your mat with your feet. There are your hips, and we'll come on back into standing forward bend again. Feet right underneath us. So hips distance apart and parallel. And again, you go where it feels good. mean, some of you might even want to put your hands behind your legs onto your calves, or you might want to hold your ankles. Again, you might want to put your elbows above your knees, or you might want to hold your elbows with your hands. And then full deep breaths. Feel the ribs expand as you inhale. As you exhale, kind of imagine that the top of the head wants to get a little closer to the ground. And then we'll release our hands back up to our hips, bend our knees, and rise up to standing. We're going to inhale our arms all the way out and up. And let our exhale bring our hands down together in front of our hearts. We're going to inhale the hands up a little bit higher than the head, and then again clasp your hands and bring them behind your head. Now this time, see if you can let your chin rise up a little bit. Your hands are still supporting your head. And press the back of your head gently into your hands. But it's really just like you're supporting your head with your hands. Feeling a little bit forward, feeling of the sternum coming forward. Let yourself release the weight of your head into your hands. One more breath. And then bring your gaze on back forward. And from here, take your hands away from your head and start to press your palms forward and away from you a little bit. So if you know your shoulders need you to go more forward, do. If you feel fine to get the hands directly over your head, do. So one more breath here. Now just make sure for a second that you're not tucking your tailbone up under you. If you do that, you feel what happens, right? The knees can bend and you can tuck forward, but then release to reach your tailbone down towards between your heels. One more inhale. And on the exhale, release your arms and fold forward from your hips into your standing forward bend. And let your next inhale help you find that long back. This time we're going to walk into a downward facing dog pose, so you place your hands, whatever surface you like to use, and walk on back. And then from here, we'll inhale our way out to that plank or half plank, or come into your forearm plank. And if anybody wants to add a back bend again here, you can, or not. You can come down and do a sphinx or a cobra, or come through for an up dog, or no back bend at all. And then we'll make our way back again into downward facing dog pose. So walk a little bit. If you need to move your head again, do. Let yourself find a little movement if you want in your dog. Good. And we are going to, from the dog now, come back again to that plank. And again, you can add a back bend or not. Totally up to you. You can let yourself stay in your plank, move to where you can, and then we'll come on back again into downward facing dog pose. Nice. And this time, let's bring the left foot forward to come into lunge. And it does not matter how you get there. Both knees down if you need to, or right knee down. And then we'll come back into standing forward, bend again. Feet very equal. Bend your knees a little bit. Feel as equal as you can between your feet. And of course, release to where you're comfortable. If you need to add some support to keep your back long, do. Full deep breaths. Now for a second, find those little spaces between your breaths. So when you inhale, feel that little space before you exhale. And the same thing at the end of your exhales. Feel that little space before you inhale. So you have those little spaces between your breaths where you can almost feel like you're relaxing in those little spaces between. Good. One more breath. And then we'll bring our hands to our hips and rise on up to standing and inhale our arms all the way out and up. And let our exhale bring our hands down together in front of our hearts. Finding your mountain pose. If you need to adjust a little bit, do. Let yourself enjoy feeling planted, right? It's really like your feet are rooted into the ground. And you're kind of growing up out of those rooted feet. So you feel equal between your feet. You feel your thighs gently lifting upward. You're not locking your knees, no. And if there's a little bit of movement in mountain, it's okay. You know, it's like your body just finding its way into alignment there. ahead and let our arms come on down. Shake everything out just a little bit. Walk around a little bit. So for a 49% chance of rain, I think we're doing pretty good right now. It is a lot of thunder out there. We're going to turn our chair around and we're using it. Have your blocks handy, and we're going to step our right foot back for warrior two first today. So lining up your heels, lining up that front knee, and let it feel really good to bend that front knee right out over the center of your foot. Now for a second, as you look down at your left knee, feel that right foot back there. Make sure you're okay in your knee and your ankle, right, and your hip. And think about the arch lifting up of that back foot, because you might have the tendency to roll to the inside of the foot, but think of your arch lifting up. And then start to reach your right arm behind you and turn to look out over the top of your right hand. So you know that arm's right behind your shoulder. Start to slowly turn your head back to the left and float that left arm up. So now you're looking right out over the top of that hand. Energy out through the fingertips. Feel the sense of reaching equally through both sets of fingertips. So you're softening your shoulders down. Feet equal in the floor here. Warrior two, very strong. We're going to turn the left palm up, bring your right hand to your right leg, and lift up into that side stretch, reaching up towards the ceiling with your left hand. Now you don't have to look up. If it bothers your neck, you can stay looking forward, you just adjust however feels good. One more breath here. And on the exhale, we're going to come into side angle. So either your left hand or forearm can go on your thigh, it can go on your chair, and you can decide whether you want to add the right arm up into line with the right side of your body or keep your right hand down on your hip. And if bringing the arm in down towards your right ear is too much, you can always just go straight up with the arm. So if you want to do something for your shoulders and it's a little too much to add it all the way into line, just go where you can. And one more breath. Think about being equally long through the sides of your body. And then we're going to come on back into warrior two. Pressing those feet away from each other gets us right back into the pose. Fingertips reaching out. And then we'll softly bring our arms down. We're going to turn our feet more parallel. And you want your feet at least a little bit wider than your shoulders. How much wider is up to you. But bring your arms straight out from your shoulders. So here we are in a 5-pointed star. Let the hands come a tiny bit higher. And now we're going to lower the left arm down and bring our right arm up. We're going to come into side stretch right here in this 5-pointed star. So just let yourself slide your left hand down the outside of your left leg a little bit. And then breathe into the right side. And again, if your shoulder bothers you and you need to, the arm doesn't have to even be up. You can put your right hand down on your hip. So one more breath. We're going to come back into center, into that 5-pointed star again. And then we'll bring the right hand down. Left arm comes up as the right hand slides down. And again, if your shoulder bothers you, sometimes turning that top hand a different direction helps. Like palm forward or palm down, or even turning the palm the other way, right? Or just give up and put your hand on your hip. It's too much, right? One more breath. And then we'll come on back up to the top. And we're going to come forward. So bend your knees a little bit. Now, you can grab your blocks. First, though, see if you can just put your elbows above your knees, right? So you're supported into a nice long stance here. It is a squat, but you're reaching back through your tailbone, so you have that length of your spine. And then you can decide, how do you want to come forward? Do you want to put your hands on blocks? Do you want to use the floor? Let yourself be easy and mindful of how your back feels. And then go ahead and start to bend one knee and then the other in your own timing. So you come into those inner thighs a little deeper. And sometimes once you start that little movement back and forth, you feel like you want to adjust your stance, and you can do that. I mean, you can make it a little more or a little less wide, right? And then come on back into center and take your time here. We're going to stay and let ourselves stay and be with our breath. So if you need a long back, if you stack your blocks up and get onto your forearms, you can still have your back nice and long. If that's too much, don't do it. You can always keep your hands on blocks so you're up even higher, or you can put your elbows back above your knees if you'd like. So some of you I know really like to bring your hands down towards between your feet and let your head hang. If that doesn't bother your back, go for it and just be with your breath here now. Remember, your knees can be bent or your knees can be straighter in this pose. Watch your breaths. Find those spaces between your breaths again if you can. Let your face relax. So feel like your face is becoming very soft and you're relaxed all around your eyes and your mouth. And to come up from this, be really mindful as you walk your way out with your hands. Maybe you want to bring your feet together a little bit before you come up. That's up to you. If you are dizzy, sometimes keeping wide for a couple of breaths helps. And then, of course, when you're ready, you can walk your feet in, move through your feet a little bit. I like to lift my feet up and think about bringing my heel towards my buttocks and shift side to side. So if that feels good, you can do it. I mean, don't do it if it doesn't. And we are going to go to the other side. So again, if you need your blocks, you got your chair there. You can always put your hand on the back of your chair to give you support. You're coming into Warrior 2 with the left foot back, the right foot forward. That back foot for most of us is about parallel to the back edge of the mat. Some of you might want to send your heel back farther. That's up to you. And then bend that right knee, look down, make sure you're aligned there with that knee. You're not letting it come inward. It's coming out kind of either between your big toe or the second toe and the third toe, really. And then start to look back behind yourself. Left arm's going to float on up, and see if you can feel that arm directly back from your shoulder. And now you can see that it's there. And then start to turn your head to the right. Rise that right arm on out, and let your gaze come right out over, really kind of right out over the top of that middle finger. I hate to say it, but that's just where it comes. And let yourself feel the shoulders softening down. Reach out through the fingertips. And feel the feet. Imagine you're trying to make your mat a little longer with your feet. There are your hips. And we'll put the left hand down on our left leg, turn our right palm up, and inhale, reaching up now, really full breaths into the right side here. So feel the right ribs expanding when you breathe in. Remember, if your neck bothers you, just look forward instead of up. So one more breath. And we're going to come over into that side angle where either our right hand or our forearm is on our thigh. And you can decide, once you bring that left arm up, if it's like, wow, that does not feel good, put your hand on your hip again, bring the arm more up from your shoulder if that's better, and let yourself just enjoy lengthening out through both sides of the body here. And think about your head being in line with your spine if you can. And then we're going to come on back into Warrior 2, pressing those feet away from each other as we come. And we're going to let our hands come down. We're going to turn our feet again to where they're parallel. But before you come forward, bring your hands behind you. And let yourself just clasp your hands. And you've got your hands right there where you can feel what your tailbone's doing, right? You can tell if you were to tuck forward. You can tell if you're letting your belly hang out too. So you want to feel a little engagement in the belly and the tailbone reaching straight down. And see if you can come into a couple of three-part breaths. So you inhale into the belly and then into your ribs and then up into your chest a little bit if you can. And then when you exhale, you let the breath come out of the chest and then the ribs and then the belly. So when you inhale, it starts at the bottom and rises up to the top. And when you exhale, you just reverse that. Start from the top and go back down. Good. One more breath. And on your exhale, bend your knees. Keep your hands back if you can. And come forward with a nice flat back. And bend your knees enough to where you feel fine to reach back through your tailbone. And, and it's a pretty intense, lengthened out spine here. Pretty intense pose. One more breath. And then if you want to release your hands on down to whatever surface, the blocks or the floor that you want to use or the chair, do. And then go ahead and again, bend one knee at a time if you can. Let yourself just easily bend one knee and the other. And then come on back into center, and let's move our hands to the right. Now you might just want to shift your blocks to the right a little bit. You might want to walk over towards your right foot or hold on to your foot or your ankle. Take a breath here. And then come on back through center, and we're going to go the other side. So again, it depends on you. You can stay out in front of your foot. You can walk towards the foot. You can hold the foot or the ankle. Just be mindful. You know, really enjoy. You're coming a little deeper into that inner right thigh there. And we're going to come on back again into center. Set up to be with your breath. So whatever helps you. Remember, you can stack blocks. I mean, you might even want to put your head on blocks kind of in front of you. Let your hands be on the floor. That lengthens the spine, you know, but you might want to be up higher than that. So really pay attention to how you feel in your back, in your hips. Good. And then just breathe. Let the pose do everything for you. All you do is follow your breath all the way in and all the way out. Good. One more breath. And to come up out of this, remember, you just make your way up however feels best for you. So if you need to get your feet together before you come up, do. And then be easy. When you walk your feet together, walk around a little bit. You might want to circle through your ankles a little. And if you're using your chair, turn it around. If you don't have a chair, make sure you have both your blocks handy because you're going to need them. We're going to actually come into stepping our right foot back in a lunge. So your hands will come down first to whatever you want to use, and our right foot will come back into a lunge here. So let yourself just be easy. Find your lunge. We're going to add a twist in it. We're going to bring our left hand up to our left hip and roll that left shoulder up. And you can put your palm down on your sacrum there, rolling your shoulder up. Some of you might really like to stretch your left arm up. That depends on you and your shoulder. Or keep your hand down if that's better. The twist is in the middle of the back. And then we're going to come on back down with our hand. From here, we're going to come into pyramid. We're going to bring the right foot in enough to lower the right heel to the floor as both legs come straight. Now that right heel down on the floor is coming in a little bit. So your back foot is turned out 20 or 30 degrees, right? But both thighs are lifting upward towards your hips. So it's like you're protecting your knees, like you're creating space in your knees as well. But your back is long. So if you feel like you're rounding up like this into your back, see if you can think about your heart melting down and your back becoming a little bit flatter, right? And some of you I know love this pose to fold forward over your legs. So if you like to do that, you can. You can let yourself fold over that front leg and release to wherever you want to be. You can put your hands down onto the blocks or the floor. Good. One more breath. And now if you did fold forward, come up again. Now we're going to think of coming up to warrior one from here. So you might need to adjust. You're going to bend the front knee, adjust the back foot so that you can think about rising up with your hands coming to your heart, and you'll be in your warrior one pose. Your core body has to bring you up there. Shoulders are now over your hips. Good. And then see if you can bring your arms up into a wide V, turn the pinkies towards each other. You can bring your gaze up a little bit if you choose to. Feel that openness in the front of the right hip. One more breath. And then lower your arms on down. And we're just going to step forward and we're going to come into the other side. So, walk in place a little bit. And then bring your hands down for your lunge so you can step your left foot back. And again, it doesn't matter what height you are. You can be on the blocks any height. You can be on the chair, seat. And take your time. Really find your lunge because remember, we're going to twist. We're going to bring our right hand up to our right hip and roll that shoulder up into that twist. And again, you can stay with your hand right there. Remember, you're trying to stay fairly level there where your hand is, right? Try not to drop into that left side that's long. And if you like to stretch your right arm up, you can. Totally not necessary. Be where you can be there. One more breath. And then turn to face the ground. Come back to lunge. We're going to come into that pyramid. So again, you might need to draw that left foot in more to put the heel on the ground. The heel turns inward a little bit, and both legs are straightening out now. And your thighs are lifting up towards your hips. And again, you can stay right here, feeling that engagement of the legs, keeping the length of your spine. Or you can bend your elbows and kind of bow over that front leg if it feels good to do that. That's just not for everybody, right? So stay where you can be. Feel the feet on the floor equally, and think about your arches lifting up, but the four corners of your feet reaching down into the ground. Good. One more breath here. And then we'll come back up if we were folded, more parallel to the floor. Now remember, you're going to think about lifting up. So as you bend that front knee, you might need to adjust the back foot again. Because just to think about rising up to warrior one, it takes a lot of strength to get yourself back up, hands to your heart, so that you're into your warrior one with your shoulders over your hips. Squaring off there, good. And then see if you can rise your arms up again into that wide V. You may even want to look up. That, be really mindful. Don't do anything that stresses your neck. Energy up through the fingertips. Feel equal through your feet into the floor. One more breath. And then we'll lower our arms on down. And let's come on forward. Let your feet get right underneath you. Go ahead and come into a forward bend, either, all the way down if you want, or elbows above your knees, or use your chair or your blocks. Bend your knees pretty good so you feel pretty much of a release in your hips and your back. Good. And then let your hands come to your hips. We're going to press into our feet and come on up. We're going to inhale our arms all the way out and up overhead. And on our exhale, let our hands come right down together, coming into our mountain pose. So, bringing your gaze out, whether your eyes are open or closed. If you need to shift around a little bit, shift around. You can always sway or, come into letting your feet, toes lift up, or letting yourself just enjoy evening out between your feet, however you need to. And then just be with your breath. Let it be easy. Feel that quiet strength. And then we'll unfold our arms right on down, shake out just a little bit. Sounds like those storms are moving away, doesn't it? Okay, if you're using a chair, you might want to turn it around, and we're gonna do a little balance without having a wall for a change. So take a block and bring the block to the outside of your left foot. Let's all do left foot. Outside of your left foot, all right? This is why I like to have a chair, but we're gonna cross our right foot over so that you come into crossing the foot over to rest on the block the lowest height. And that right there, yeah, and you can walk to a wall if you need to. Walk to a wall if you need to. And let yourself put your hand on the wall, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and use the wall. That's why I have a chair. I keep telling people chairs are great. All right, now, you can stay right here. Bring your hands to your heart if you want, and just stay right there. There's a balance, right? Can you feel the outside of this left leg? It's intense. There's your IT band right there. And this is an eagle variation. Now, if you want, you can shift your hips back and let yourself come forward with your torso. And you might have to kind of rearrange a little bit, but if you squeeze your thighs towards each other, squeeze your thighs inward, lift your pelvic floor upward, man, that's a lot of good core and thigh work and hips, right? Now, you can do a whole wrap. You can put your left arm on top of your right. You can come into your eagle wrap. Totally not necessary. If you want to just hug, if you want to keep your hands to your heart, you probably had about enough. Come on up. and then unfold, yeah? So it's intense. Bring the block to the outside of the right foot. So again, once you put the left foot over there, right? If you lift up and you don't bend your knees at all, and you just think about, you have to really be strong right here, and you're feeling the outside of your leg. Yeah, it's a lot harder than it looks. Yeah. And then you can decide if you think you want to come into bending that knee you're standing on. So as you do, you think about shifting your hips back. Yeah? I mean, you can kind of put your hands on your thighs like that if you want to. I swear, if you need to put your hand on something, go to a wall. And then again, you can let your hands be at your heart, or you can bring your right arm over your left, give yourself a hug so that the opposite arm and leg is on top in eagle, or you can do your eagle wrap. Great work. Squeeze the thighs towards each other a little bit. Good. And then when you're ready to unwind, come on, done. Yes, and take it easy. Yeah, those are intense. We're going to come down to our bellies on the floor. So just move your chair off to the side as best you can, and come on down. Let yourself release onto your belly, and make a little pillow with your hands. If you're comfortable there for your neck to do that, and rest your forehead, bend your knees, and let your knees slide, move towards the outside edges of your mat, and your feet come to touch in the middle. So your feet are up, right, but your knees are out to the side. And if you want to go farther out with your knees, you can. You can go farther out with the knees and let the feet come, soles of the feet together, and let them come down a little bit if that releases your hips better. Don't force anything. In other words, we're trying to relax our hips. So feet can stay up, knees can just be out towards the edges of your mat a little bit, and that'll release your hips a bit too. So one more breath. Good, and then we're going to stretch our legs long and bring them underneath us again. So once you get your feet underneath you, curl your toes under, lift your knees up, and so you'll feel the belly engaging automatically and the tailbone kind of curls down, and that's fine. It's just protecting you as you lift your knees off the floor. And then bring the thighs back down, and from here we're going to come on up to a sphinx with our elbows under our shoulders. Spread your fingers nice and wide. If you're uncomfortable in this pose, really change. Come down lower. Your head can barely be off the floor if you want, with your elbows down towards your waist. If it bothers you to come up higher, don't. And just enjoy. Open the front of the body wherever you are as best you can. Good. And now, turn your right forearm parallel to the front edge of your mat and put your head down on your forearm and bend your left knee. Flex the foot. And then see if you can just lift your head off your arm. It doesn't have to be high at all. You can be right there. There's a half bow pose, right? If you want to go more into a half bow pose, if you want to reach your left hand back and get hold of the top of your left foot, you can. And you can push the foot into your hand and feel your quad engage. But you don't need to reach back to get the foot to be in a half bow. You can be down with your head, up a little bit with your head. And some of you like more of a back bend. You can come up with your forearm closer to your waist and then reach back and get your foot. So now you're adding the back bend deeper part into this pose. But it's not necessary to do that. We're going to come down and switch legs and arms. So again, head onto the left forearm, right knee bends. And just breathe there. Just let yourself stay for a breath. Flex that right foot. And then see if your head can float a little bit up off your arm. But it doesn't have to go high at all. Whether you want to reach back with your right hand and get your top of your foot or your ankle is totally up to you. And if you push the foot into your hand, that'll even just rise you up a little bit. If you like to go higher, remember, you can lower your arm down more towards your waist and come up even higher. That's all options. And then we're going to come on back down. Release your arms down alongside your body. And on your next inhale, float your legs and your head up a little bit. And then see if your hands can float up a little bit too. A little locust pose here. Kind of feels like Superman, right? One more breath. And then we're going to release and come on down. We're going to come right back onto our forearms, clasp our hands. Now you can bend your knees and lift up into a half forearm plank. So you're on that flesh above your knees. You're not onto the top of your kneecaps ever in a half forearm plank. It's almost like you're trying to pull yourself forward but engaging your belly. You can put your toes down if you want to lift all the way up. That is optional, and you know that. You can stay with your knees down. If you're like, I don't want to do any of that, you can come down and you know it. One more breath here. And then come down. Stretch your right arm long and roll onto your right side. Now, when you get on your right side, it should feel really good, right? So if your shoulder doesn't let you lay on your arm, bring your arm forward, grab a blanket or a block and put it under your head, right? So you don't want to do something that your shoulder doesn't want you to do. So if it hurts, don't do it. And we're going to bring the left foot up like we're doing tree pose into either the inside of your right calf or into the inside of your thigh. Whichever one of those you choose, right, or lower, right, just let it be a release. You can keep your left hand on the floor. You can put your left hand up on your hip if you want to. You can just let yourself just play a little bit there, but let it feel. It's like your left knee wants to lift up towards the ceiling, but your hips are staying fairly level. And just enjoy feeling that release in the hip. It's like a reclined tree. You can even stretch your arms overhead if you want. You can reach your left arm overhead like you got your arms overhead if you were standing up. So one more breath there. And then let that left leg come long. All we're going to do is roll back to our belly and go to the other side. So getting yourself set up there. And again, if your left shoulder bothers you, don't put your arm up above your head like that. Bring it forward more. Put a block under your head if you'd like to, right? Or a blanket is better if you have one. And then again, here you are, feet are underneath you. It's like you're in mountain pose. The right foot's going to come up to the inside of that left leg, either low, down below your knee, or up above. Press gently into the outside edge of your left little toe. Your pinky left toe is pushing down into the floor. And there, that'll activate you, and that might, make you want to bring your right hand off the floor or stretch your right arm overhead, so that you feel a little bit more balance there, but it's core strength here. Good. So just let it feel one more nice open feeling there for your hip. And then we'll bring the foot on back down. We're going to roll to our backs from here. So there's a bunch of finagling to get centered off on the mat. That's the one thing about sticky mats is when you start moving around on them. But let yourself bend your knees, and once you get there, just barely allow your knees to shift from side to side. So you're not coming down with your knees towards the floor, in other words. They're just shifting a little bit, so you shift from the top of one hip to the top of the other. Good. And then come on back into center. Bring your arms down alongside you and do a couple of little pelvic tilts. So as you exhale, feel your tailbone curl up, the low back come to the floor. And when you inhale, the tailbone reaches back down, your natural curve comes back into your back. So the pelvis comes with the breath into those little tilts and then back to its normal alignment. So just be mindful, let it feel really good. Take your time as you allow it to feel like a nice release. Good. One more breath. Finish off the one you're on. And then bring your right knee in towards your chest and extend your left leg down long on the floor. Now you can hold below your knee or you can hold at the back of your thigh. Flex through both your feet a little bit. And feel your right leg pressing into your hands. And so you're not collapsing your low back to the floor by pulling your knee in towards you, but instead you're letting it press into your hands a little bit, which brings you into that natural curve of your low back. And then let your left hand come to rest on top of your left hip. And open your right knee with your right hand over to the right side. So you're just kind of drawing your right knee like you're pulling it up towards your shoulder a little bit. And just release into the inner thigh that way. Good, and then come back into center and hold behind your right thigh and put your foot up like you're putting a footprint on the ceiling. Now your knee is still bent, right? And you just got your foot up in the air there. Now you're welcome just to stay right there, kind of pulling your thigh in a little towards your outer ribs. Or you can come into a straighter leg if you want to. You can let yourself straighten the leg out and open up the back of your leg a little bit there. I mean, some of you might want to hold behind your thigh or your calf or reach for your ankle or even holding onto your foot. You know, that's totally up to you. Just let yourself find a release there for the back of the leg. Good, and then bend the knee again. Bring the knee back in towards the chest. And now let your left hand come over to that right knee. Stretch your right arm out beside you. And use your hand to draw the knee across to the left. Now, you might want to barely come across the midline with the knee so that the right hip hardly is off the floor at all. Or you may want to continue over farther into a twist. That is up to you. You can let your left hand draw the knee over. Some of you might even want to put the right foot over onto the floor. Or you might even want to stretch your leg longer and bring the leg over. You know, just be mindful. Let yourself find what feels really good for you. Thinking about your right shoulder releasing down towards the ground. Good. And then we'll come on back into center with that knee. And we're going to bring the left knee in. Keep both knees in for a second. Let your back really kind of collapse into the floor, the low back. And then keep your left knee in, hold on to it, and go ahead and extend your right leg down long on the floor. Flex through both your feet. And again, press the left leg into your hands. You know, you can even have your arms go totally straight. And that'll kind of get that sense of the curve coming back into your low back. Natural curve. Good, and then release your right hand to the top of your right hip. We're going to use our left hand to draw the knee over towards our left and up towards your shoulder, right? So think about if you were just drawing that left knee in and up towards your shoulder a little bit. Let it feel good. Feel that release through the inner thigh. Good, and then come back into center with the knee. Hold behind your left thigh, and you can clasp your hands there, and then send your left foot up like you're putting a footprint on the ceiling. And again, that might be fine for you. You might just want to kind of use that hip release, draw the thigh in more towards the outer rib cage if you can, or you might want to stretch your leg long. That is up to you. You can have the leg come a little away from you. You can, if you want, use your hands to come up to your calf or your foot. But just let that back of the leg release, gently, easily opening up. Good. Nice, easy breaths. And then go ahead and bend your knee again. And this time we'll bring our right hand over to get the left knee. Stretch our left arm out beside us. And we're going to bring the knee across to the right. Now again, you may barely want to come. You may want to keep your left hip fairly down close to the floor or on the floor and stay there. Or you might want to continue over more and more towards the right with that left knee. And again, you know, you decide. Don't over twist. Don't do anything that makes you feel uncomfortable. Keep the right shoulder grounded if you can. If it feels good to turn your head to roll it to the left, look to the left a little bit, do. One more breath. And now as you come back into center, be mindful, bring that knee on back, and then bring both knees on in and open the knees wider and let the knees slide down towards the outside of your rib cage, right? And then let the feet come up in the air. There you are in happy baby pose, right? Now you can, if you want, just hold keep your hands kind of to the outside of your legs. You can put your hands on the back of your thighs from the outside of your legs. Or some of you might want to reach up and get your feet or your ankles coming up more to the inside of your feet and your legs, right? That is totally up to you. If rolling a little bit side to side feels good, go for it. If letting yourself bring your feet together into Baddha Konasana feels better for you, anything that feels like a release for your hips and your back, right? And if sometimes just coming into a wide angle allows you to release, just letting your legs be long and using your hands as little stands on the outside of your legs, or just letting the legs hang in the air. Just be mindful. And then come on back up. Let your feet come up in the air and see if you can just let your legs come back and forth like you're cross-country skiing on the ceiling, right? And some of you might even want to do the old-fashioned bicycle right now. So if it feels good to let yourself bike a little bit up there in the air, you can back pedal, of course, too. It feels good. Really, just start to listen to your own body. There might be something else entirely that you want to do right now. So if you need to put your feet on the floor, if you need to come into knee side to side, another kind of a twist, or, you know, some of you might even feel really like you're just craving a bridge pose, you know. If you feel like coming up into a bridge pose sounds good, anything, right? Don't think about it too hard. Just let your body do what feels very natural for you. If you want to do a supported bridge, do a supported bridge. If you want to let yourself, you know, come into another kind of a twist than what we just did, by all means, do it. I'm just going to start to come around to get the lights and then eventually support for people here at the studio. But take your time. Really take your time. And those of you at home, same thing. You know, get whatever you need to do in order to be more comfortable for Shavasana. By all means, blankets, bolsters, or pillows at home, you know. You know, I do have all these bolsters here. I would be more than happy. And if you feel like really uncomfortable the way you're laying right now, by all means, turn the other way if you're like, oh my goodness, I've never had my head this way.
That is the thought I have.
I'm going to start to bring bolsters. I'll look. Front of your knee. Yeah, see how it feels.
That feels good.
So, you know, all a bolster does, or rolled up blankets at home, if you can roll up a blanket, kind of like into a bedroll, kind of. Just readjust your pelvis a little bit, so that if your low back is bothering you, it can bring you relief. Now, it doesn't always work. You know, so by all means, don't Feel like if you get there and you're using one, so take your time, and if you need to readjust a little bit, your arms or legs, that's working. So if you feel the least bit uncomfortable, sometimes just a little adjustment of where you have your arms, your legs can help you release a little better and deeper. You can get more easy into releasing up into your shoulders and your hips. And if you feel uncomfortable, like with your neck, support yourself. A little blanket underneath your head can go a long way to letting you feel more aligned with the way you have your head when you're lying on your back. And then just breathe. Just accept your breaths. Sometimes it is quieting to come back to finding those little spaces between your breaths where you feel like you're really just relaxing deeper in between your breaths. When your mind wanders off and you realize you're thinking, just see if you can softly return to your breath over and over again. Whatever helps you do that. Just allow yourself these few minutes. Trust that your body and your brain will receive what they need from all you just did. Just by finding those little quiet places and allowing yourself to completely and fully relax. as you breathe in and out, coming back to feeling physical there on the floor again. And as those deeper breaths bring you back, feeling like you want to move again, let your fingers, your toes, your hands, and your feet kind of lead you into moving if you can, so that you come up into arms and legs, however you need to. If you feel you need to stretch or bend, just take your time. And you are welcome to roll to either your right or your left side. If it feels good to you to come into a soft fetal position on your side, you can always use your arm as a pillow or a blanket if you have one there. Just feel cradled by the ground a little bit longer if that's comfortable for you, to give yourself a little more time to adjust. So that when you do feel like you're okay to rise up, you can feel a little more comfortable about sitting up with your head above your heart again. And you can have your eyes closed if possible, or close them again once you do get up to sitting. And get comfortable with how you're seated so you're okay in your hips. Let your hands come to a comfortable place where your shoulders feel nice and released and open and wide across your chest. And come back to feeling the breath now, coming in and going out through your nose. And on your next exhale, let your hands gently come to meet there in front of your chest. And wishing each one of you a very joyful day. Namaste.
Namaste.